Now, Finance and Economic Development Minister Professor Mthuli Ncube says the government has substantial resources to ensure no Zimbabwean goes hungry as the country battles the effects of El Niño-induced drought, which has affected both urban and rural areas.
The minister told the media at the post-cabinet meeting yesterday that government will use, among other resources, funds availed in the 2024 national budget to ensure that all Zimbabweans have food with a cash transfer system in place for urbanites.
As you know, government is a very robust program in terms of the drought release response and covering both rural and urban affected families. Our approach has been to use both the commodities approach, giving out commodity in the form of grain, but also cash transfers. Now, obviously our preference has been mainly giving out food. Then we know that people are going to eat it. Usually with cash, cash is fungible. It could be used in ways that then won't support the vulnerable families. But we're doing both, in both urban and rural areas. So in the urban areas, we are going to be implementing a cash transfer program, already doing that, and we believe that we've really got adequate resources. Well, look, we never have adequate resources, but with substantial resources that we've deployed. There are two streams of resources as government that are under control. One is resources coming out directly from the budget allocation from budget for this year, 2024. But also recently we got a payment equivalent to $32 million from insurance that we took, sovereign insurance that we took as government. And that will also supplant the resources that we deployed towards both grain and cash distributions. So really, I don't think one wants to pronounce too early in terms of the actual cash amount per person. Those things need to be fine-tuned, need to be properly assessed. But I can assure you that the amount will be something that would cause some grief to those who are affected.
Now, also, the Information Minister, Dr. Jenfan Musweri, said more than 62,000 tons of grain have so far been distributed to the vulnerable and food to insecure people across the country's provinces under the first phase of the drought mitigation program.
In addition, he said efforts are being stepped up significantly for the second phase starting next month, with enough money being made available to buy and distribute emergency food and pay urban allowances to the vulnerable.
The first 3 months distribution blitz, which started in May 2024, is coming to an end this month, July 2024. Accordingly, modalities for the second phase, August to October 2024, are being worked out. These include the grain movement plan, the urban cash distribution plan, and the mobilization of more financial resources for the 3 months distribution. As at 2 July 2024, a cumulative 62,696 metric tons of grain had been distributed to vulnerable and food insecure people across the country's provinces.
Now, it's a great initiative, of course, that the government is ensuring that no vulnerable citizen, no person in Zimbabwe will go hungry due to the drought. Of course, as you know, SADC has put together a committee to try and lobby various stakeholders around the world to bring some humanitarian aid into the whole region. Now, don't forget the numbers, and these are the numbers that are frightening. You've got 2.5 million people in Zimbabwe right now need emergency food aid. 7.5 million people in total will need it. That's half the population of a country. That's a huge amount of people. But the government seems to be stepping up. They've already started releasing grain. They're talking about cash transfers to urbanites. But here is my only word of warning. We saw this kind of distribution during the COVID era. And it's unfortunate. One, we need the right people on the list. Two, we need the money to get to them. Remember the numbers that we were talked about in COVID. We were talking about 1 million people were supposed to get aid, but only over just, 150 to 200,000 got it. So the numbers given to us in COVID, a lot of people didn't get that assistance. So it's very vital the government cleans up its database, makes sure the vulnerable people are on that list, and that the people that need it get all the assistance they can from the government, because the assistance is there. It's now getting it from the government, from the warehouses to the people, and from the banks to the mobile money to the people. And that was one of the other issues, of course. People didn't have mobile money numbers, so you couldn't transfer the money on mobile money. It became quite chaotic, but I'm hoping we've learned our lesson and we're going to do it way, way, way better this time. Erica?
Listen, when we talk about the government making sure that we do have these inputs, Andy, I do not know what you make of the awareness. I was speaking to a couple of people about the El Nino, and people don't seem to know that we do have a drought in the country. They just think that we're experiencing tough times as in general, but not aware that we are actually going through a drought.
Okay, I'm a bit surprised because I know that in villages there's zero crop out there. I mean, there's literally nothing. So I'm assuming in the rural areas, I think they know because they can see that there isn't any food, you know. Yeah. But I think in the urban areas, we don't. Because why? Because for us, it's walking into a shop, isn't it? Yeah. It's like you want mealy meal, you walk into a shop. You don't actually go to a farm and produce it. So as long as the products are in on the shelves and the prices are pretty stable,
we're not quite aware that we are experiencing a drought.
Which is why we're always calling for everyone to pitch in, particularly for your relatives in the rural areas who are suffering. There is zero crop out there in some areas. So if you can assist all the vulnerable in your community, get involved. Don't just leave it all to the government.
Konapo. Ipapo pa ZTN Prime. DSTV channel 294. The place to be.